When a quiet black man walks into a luxury car dealership wearing nothing but calm confidence, the manager doesn't see a potential buyer. He sees a problem. What follows is a masterclass in grace under fire and a moment of truth that no one in that showroom will ever forget. The morning sun poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Westbridge Prestige Motors, casting long streaks of gold across the chrome and carbon fiber that lined the showroom floor. Every car gleamed like it had never touched pavement, sleek, predatory machines arranged with surgical precision. This wasn't just a dealership, it was a sanctuary for the elite, and everyone who worked there knew the unspoken rule: look the part, or don't bother walking in. Andre Lewis walked in. No appointment, no Rolex, no designer frames shielding his eyes. Just dark jeans, a clean white tee, and work boots scuffed at the toes. His hands were calloused, his posture straight, no swagger, just presence. The hush was subtle but real. Conversations dipped, brows lifted. One sales rep near the reception desk leaned slightly to whisper something under his breath. Andre didn't flinch. He walked with the quiet confidence of a man who knew exactly where he was going, even if no one else thought he belonged there. Behind a curved mahogany desk, Travis Bell looked up from his tablet. Mid-40s, blazer too tight across the shoulders, a face trained to smile only when it served him. He clocked Andre before the door had fully swung shut. His lips pressed into a flat line. Another one. Travis had seen this type before, or so he thought. Guys who wandered in just to sit behind the wheel and snap a photo for social media. Guys who asked about prices they couldn't afford and haggled on things that weren't negotiable. Guys who didn't look like buyers. He set his tablet down. Andre had paused beside a charcoal gray Bentley Continental, his eyes scanning the seamless trim, fingers grazing the handle like he was checking for a flaw no one else would notice. He wasn't pointing, wasn't asking questions, just assessing. Travis stepped forward. The floor of Westbridge was his domain. He was the gatekeeper here, and Andre Lewis, boots and all, wasn't part of the picture he was paid to protect. "Can I help you?" The words came out smoother than they felt. Not a question, more of a nudge. Andre turned slightly, just enough to meet his gaze. His face was calm, unreadable. "Maybe," he said. No urgency, no need to impress. That alone made Travis itch, because this man didn't walk in like he wanted approval. He walked in like he already had it, and that didn't sit well. Somewhere near the espresso bar, a young assistant manager watched the exchange over the rim of her paper cup, her eyes flicking from Andre to Travis, then back again. Something was off. Something was coming. But no one, not Travis, not the staff, not even the customers lingering by the Rolls-Royce display, had any idea who just walked through that door. Not yet. Andre didn't wander. He moved with intention, each step slow, deliberate, unbothered by the silent judgment settling around him like dust. He wasn't looking around wide-eyed, overwhelmed by luxury. He was scanning, calculating. His eyes paused briefly on the black Bentley coupe, fingers brushing the polished curve of its hood like he was measuring craftsmanship, not cost. Not a man dreaming of someday, a man remembering yesterday. Travis Bell watched from a distance, his jaw tightening with each step Andre took. This wasn't how it worked. People didn't just stroll into Westbridge Prestige without a stylist, a time slot, or at least a wristwatch that screamed relevance. They called ahead. They were announced. They knew their place. Travis liked order, and this was not it. Andre moved past a Ferrari Roma, nodded slightly, then turned down the next aisle lined with Aston Martins and arrogance. That's when Travis moved in. He walked quickly but didn't rush, couldn't look too eager. He caught Andre just past the rear bumper of a gunmetal DB11, positioning himself like a barrier without making it obvious. "Can I help you with something?" he asked, smile tight and fingers lightly steepled at his waist. Not inviting, not curious, just polite enough to be deniable. Andre looked at him, just looked, long enough to make the silence stretch. "I'm sure you could," he said, voice low, even. "I'm just taking a look." Travis's smile didn't waver, but the air around him cooled by a degree. "These models aren't typically open for public browsing," he said. "Appointments help us maintain exclusivity. Andre raised an eyebrow, glancing around the empty showroom floor, where only 2 other clients milled about, sipping complimentary cappuccinos. "You booked out today?" he asked. "It's not about traffic," Travis replied, leaning slightly in, lowering his voice as if explaining something complicated to someone who wouldn't get it. "It's about protecting the experience. For serious buyers." Andre nodded slowly, his gaze flicking back to the Bentley. "Right." A pause hung in the air, sharp as glass. From the front desk, Chloe, the receptionist, shifted in her seat. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, eyes flicking back and forth. She'd seen this dance before. Not the words, but the weight beneath them. Travis straightened, sensing the moment slip. "If you'd like, I can have someone walk you over to our certified pre-owned selection," he offered, with the kind of cheer that tasted like dust. Andre didn't blink. "I didn't ask for pre-owned," he said quietly. Travis stiffened. "Just trying to be helpful." Andre tilted his head slightly, studying him. "Helpful," he repeated. The space between them pulsed with something unspoken, something old, worn, and far too familiar. No voices raised, no scene made. But the line had already been drawn, and Travis still thought he was the one holding the pen. Andre's gaze lingered on the matte silver coupe in the corner. The V12, long body, soft edges that whispered power instead of shouting it. "What's the 0 to 60 on that one?" he asked, his voice smooth, like the question was just conversation, not a challenge, not a test. Travis didn't answer right away. He was too busy trying to decide what annoyed him more, the question or the way Andre asked it. Calm, curious, like he belonged here. "That one's not for public viewing," Travis said finally, folding his arms across his chest. "Special clients only. Appointments required." Andre's eyes didn't leave the car. "You mean buyers?" Travis offered a smile, the kind that held no warmth. "Exactly." A few feet away, a junior associate glanced up from her desk, then quickly looked down again. Her fingers paused above her keyboard. Andre turned his head slightly. "And if I'm a buyer?" Travis chuckled, short and tight. "Then I'd suggest scheduling a consultation. Off-site." He glanced toward the glass doors, then back at Andre. "Our pre-owned center across town has a few models you might feel more comfortable browsing." The words were wrapped in politeness, but they didn't land soft. Andre blinked once. No smile, no frown. Just stillness. "You assume I'm uncomfortable," he said. "I assume you'd rather not waste your time here," Travis replied, lips tugging at the corners as if he'd just done Andre a favor. From behind the coffee counter, a trainee paused mid-pour. A subtle stillness spread across the showroom, the kind that only comes when people know something isn't right, but no one wants to be the first to say it. Andre's posture didn't change. He simply looked Travis in the eye. "I'd like to speak with the general manager." Travis's brows lifted, a flash of something smug crossing his face. "You're speaking to him." Silence. Andre nodded once, like he'd just confirmed a theory. "Good. Then perhaps you can assist me after all." Travis's smirk tightened. "Sir," he said, drawing out the word like it tasted sour. "Again, without an appointment, we can't show certain models. It's protocol." "Or preference," Andre murmured. "What was that?" "Nothing," he replied, his tone still even, still calm. But the tension was no longer beneath the surface. It was in the air, on the floor, in every stolen glance from the staff, every shift of the shoulders, every breath that held just a beat too long. And still, Travis didn't see it. He still thought he was controlling the moment, still believed this was just another afternoon of guarding doors that were never his to keep. Andre didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice or puff his chest. He simply reached into his back pocket, pulled out a phone, and tapped out a message. Calmly, precisely. His thumb moved with the rhythm of someone who wasn't in a rush, but knew exactly who would be reading on the other end. Travis's eyes narrowed. "Look," he said, louder this time, chest puffing slightly. "This is a private dealership. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone." His voice carried. Not a shout, but sharp enough to catch ears. A guest sipping espresso near the leather lounge set his cup down a little slower. A mechanic walking across the back corridor paused mid-step, sensing the shift in tone. Andre looked up, thumb hovering over the send button, his face calm, his eyes direct. "You're making a mistake," he said quietly. "A public one." Travis gave a dry laugh, too loud to be natural. "Sir, if you're going to threaten me—" "That's not a threat," Andre cut in, voice still smooth, still low. "It's a courtesy." The air thickened. Not with noise, but with attention. A few sales associates had stopped pretending to reorganize pamphlets. One leaned against the desk, eyes locked on Travis, then flicked to Andre like she was waiting for a punchline. But none came. Andre didn't flinch. He didn't step back. He just watched as Travis continued to spiral slowly, unaware he was unraveling in front of a growing audience. "I've asked you to leave once," Travis said, tone clipped now. "This dealership caters to an exclusive clientele. If you don't have business here, I do." The interruption wasn't loud, but it cut through everything like glass on marble. "I do have business here," Andre repeated, eyes steady. Travis blinked, thrown off by the weight in Andre's voice. It wasn't aggression. It was certainty, like the kind that came from ownership, not permission. At the receptionist's desk, Chloe shifted, her hands frozen above her keyboard. She looked at Travis, then at Andre, then back down again, pretending to check the schedule. But her screen was blank. In the corner, a man in a tailored navy suit leaned forward, watching now with open curiosity. The quiet hum of the dealership had changed. It wasn't background anymore. It was a pause, a collective holding of breath. And Travis? He still thought he was setting the rules, still believed he could fix this with authority and tone. He didn't see the message had already been sent, didn't know the temperature had changed, didn't hear the air conditioning humming over the sound of his own mistake. He still thought the storm hadn't started, but it had. The glass doors whispered open as a sleek black SUV rolled up to the curb, its engine barely audible but its presence unmistakable. The kind of vehicle that didn't need to rev to be respected. It stopped clean, unhurried. The back doors opened with a quiet click. Two people stepped out. A man in a sharp navy suit, crisp white shirt, no tie. A woman beside him in a slate gray blazer and heels that didn't announce themselves, but still somehow owned the floor. They didn't pause, didn't scan the lobby, didn't look for a receptionist to greet them. They moved with purpose, like they knew exactly where they were going and who they were here for. Inside, Andre stood exactly where Travis had left him. Still, patient, centered. The woman spotted him first. "Mr. Lewis," she called out, her voice professional but warm, like this was just another Thursday. "Sorry we're late." Andre nodded once, no trace of smugness in his expression. Just calm. Travis turned. The smile he'd been clinging to vanished so fast it looked like it had been yanked off his face. His spine straightened, his mouth opened just slightly. "Mr. Lewis?" he echoed, like the words didn't quite fit in his mouth. The woman turned to him now. Cool. Director. "Is there a problem," she asked, "with our new CEO?" The room shifted. Someone near the espresso bar gasped, soft but sharp. Chloe at the front desk froze mid-keystroke. A young intern dropped a brochure she didn't bother picking up. Travis's jaw slackened. His eyes darted from the woman to Andre and back again, like he was searching for some other explanation. Any other version of reality, but this one. I wasn't aware," he stammered, voice thinner than before. "Clearly," the man in the navy suit said flatly. Andre didn't move, didn't gloat. His hands were still in his pockets, his stance unchanged. But the balance of the room had shifted around him like gravity had decided to show everyone where it had always been anchored. Travis swallowed hard. "I thought there must have been a misunderstanding. He didn't identify himself." "He didn't have to," the woman cut in, voice even sharper now. "You didn't ask." That silence again, heavy, surgical. No one moved. Even the soft jazz playing through the ceiling speakers felt like it had backed away, too embarrassed to keep playing. Travis took a breath, tried to recover. "If I had known—" Andre finally spoke, his voice level and steady. "But you didn't want to know." Travis looked like he'd been slapped without being touched. And the storm? It had already passed the front doors. Now it was standing in the middle of the floor. Wearing work boots, and a title that changed everything. The silence in the showroom wasn't quiet. It was charged. Like the space between lightning and thunder. Like everyone knew something was about to land. Andre stood still, hands in his pockets, eyes on Travis. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The power in the room had already shifted. The badge on Travis's chest suddenly felt more like a weight than a title. "You didn't ask for my name," Andre said, voice calm, clear. "You didn't ask what I was here for." Travis opened his mouth, but nothing came. "You saw me," Andre continued, "and you decided I didn't belong." The words hit harder than volume ever could. There was no anger in them, just truth. "That's not sales," Andre said. "That's bias." A hush rippled through the space like wind through glass. The kind of silence that made people aware of how loud their own breath was. Across the floor, junior staff exchanged glances. Some uncertain, some ashamed, some quietly nodding. Because they'd seen it too. Felt it too. Travis's face flushed. "I didn't know." "And you didn't care to," Andre replied. No venom in his tone, just precision. "You were too busy deciding what I was to find out who I am." The woman in the gray blazer didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her stance behind Andre said everything. Sharp lines, crossed arms, steady eyes. The man beside her held a tablet now, fingers tapping something quietly. Documenting. Travis tried again, his voice cracking under the weight of the moment. "If I had known—" "You shouldn't have to know someone's title," Andre said, voice steady. "To treat them with basic respect." That was the mirror, held up in front of everyone, and no one in that showroom could look away. Andre turned his head slightly, addressing no one and everyone all at once. This place, this brand, was built on more than just horsepower and chrome. It was built on experience, on trust, on welcome. A pause. "And what you gave me today was exclusion, dismissal, assumption." Travis was shrinking now, not physically, but in all the ways that mattered. His voice was gone, his stance uncertain. That polished confidence had crumbled under the weight of the very thing he thought he controlled. Andre didn't move toward him. Didn't need to. The message had landed. Not just for Travis, but for every eye that watched and every ear that listened. He let the silence stretch, just long enough for the truth to settle. Then he stepped back slightly, allowing the woman in the blazer to move forward. Her voice was cool. "Director, we'll be handling this from here." And behind her, the man with the tablet looked up and said, quietly but with finality, "Effective immediately." The floor didn't applaud, but it didn't need to. The lesson had been delivered. Travis didn't say a word as the two corporate reps flanked him and guided him toward the hallway behind the glass-paneled offices. His steps were slower now, like each one had to carry the weight of his own undoing. The eyes of his staff trailed him. Not with pity, but with the quiet understanding that something overdue had just happened. The doors closed behind him. The room exhaled. Andre remained where he was, unmoved, grounded in the same spot he'd been dismissed from not 10 minutes earlier. He didn't turn to the crowd, didn't seek their eyes or their applause. He just stood, the very embodiment of what Travis never saw coming. Calm power that didn't need validation. When the office doors opened again, Travis returned, but different, shoulders sagging, face pale. His name badge was gone, stripped clean. He walked straight past Andre without a word, without a glance, like he'd aged 10 years in 15 minutes. Andre didn't follow him with his eyes. He didn't need to. Instead, he turned. To the desk at the front, where Chloe sat still frozen behind the monitor, hands hovering, unsure what to do with them. "What's your name?" he asked gently. Her eyes widened. "Me?" Andre nodded. "You didn't look away. You knew it was wrong." Chloe blinked, her voice small but steady. "Chloe, sir." Andre gave her a nod, like he was confirming something he already suspected. "You watched. You knew. You cared." She opened her mouth to explain, maybe to apologize for not speaking up, but he stopped her with a raised hand. "That matters," he said. "Empathy matters." Then he turned to the woman in the gray blazer. "Get the paperwork started." The woman nodded without hesitation. "Title?" "Guest Services Lead," Andre said, looking back at Chloe. "Effective immediately." The room shifted again, not from fear, but from recognition. A few heads turned. One junior associate let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Somewhere in the back, the espresso machine hissed, trying to carry on like everything was normal. But everything had changed. Chloe stood slowly, tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Andre offered the smallest smile. "Don't thank me. Just make sure the next person like me doesn't have to stand alone." It didn't end with punishment. It didn't need to. Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about the standard, the expectation, the shift. And Andre didn't raise his voice to make it happen. He just reminded them all of what leadership really looks like. Quiet, clear, unshakable. If you've ever been underestimated, you know. Real power doesn't shout. It walks in, gets mistaken, and still leaves the room changed.